Cavendish. That is an incredible piece of sprinting. That's extraordinary. Nobody's anywhere near him. Cavendish takes it again, and it was all so easy. Oh, what a brilliant win! It's the biggest win of his career.
Mark Cavendish, the greatest sprinter of his generation, the most successful British cyclist ever. December 2010 saw Mark relaxing after a season that had, for him, been a disappointment. He'd started the year with two targets, the green jersey of Tour de France Sprint King and the rainbow jersey of World Champion. He'd won neither. In 2011, he was determined to change that.
Yeah, I said again, 2011. Green jersey of the Tour de France, World Championships, that's about it. They both come at the end of the year, so I'm going to have a slow start to the season. Said it this time last year, talking to you actually. And so I went into January pretty, well, not in top form. And yeah, we had ambitions in Australia, not for me, for Matt Goss. And I was a bit disappointed in Australia. I wasn't on good form, but I'd been training well, you know, and had a nasty crash there. And it knocked me out for the week, really. And I really would have liked to help Gossy do something there in Australia, you know. And went to Qatar, crashed again. Already it started, ooh, he wants to win the Tour de France green jersey in the World Championships, and look at him, he's unfit in January. Yes, because it's January, like I said.
As many have found, doubting Cavendish is an unrewarding business, and it didn't take Mark long to once again answer the critics. 19 days into the season, win #1 in the Tour of Oman.
Suddenly, HTC appear from nowhere here, and Mark Cavendish could well get the joy, and he does. And Mark Cavendish, his season has just ignited. Beware, everybody.
Doesn't matter what your form is. Until you've got that first win of the season, you can't really start the ball rolling, you know. And Oman, yeah, it's quite late for how far in the season I've started in the past, but still, February, beginning of March, you know, so it wasn't too bad.
March 2011 brought the first real target of Mark's season, the Milan-San Remo, the Classicissima, a sumptuous one-day race through northern Italy to the stunning Ligurian Riviera. Mark's win here in 2009 was one of the highlights of his young career. In 2011, he fancied another triumph.
I'd done some really, really good work, and I was up for San Remo. I won 2009 and 2010. I tried to kid myself a bit that I was good enough, but I wasn't really. Well, last year I was confident that I could do something in San Remo, but yeah, I was just vomiting all day. Sometimes you can't help it. You can do all the stuff in your world, but that's the thing about a one-day race. It's everything on one day. If everything's not perfect, then you're not going to succeed. And fortunately, it wasn't perfect for me this year, but couldn't have worked out better because Matt Goss won. So everyone was watching me, Mark and me, and Gossy got away and rode an incredible race, you know, just showed what a talent he is.
They're all still looking at each other. Very, very close now. What a select group this is. Opening up on the far right-hand side, it's Philippe Gilbert gets into the wheel of Michele Scarponi. Well, it's the only thing he can do. On the left-hand side, it's Matt Goss. Goss from HTC. Goss is going to take this one. Oh, what a brilliant win. It's the biggest win of his career. And that is absolutely fantastic. Matthew Goss of HTC High Road takes the win.
If I hadn't have won that, I couldn't have wished for anybody else other than Gossy win that. You know, it was an incredible win for an incredible lad.
May brought the year's first Grand Tour and one of the toughest challenges in the sport, the Giro d'Italia, the Tour of Italy. This year even tougher, even more mountainous than usual. Still, the Giro began well, with HTC winning the opening day team time trial.
They go fastest. Cavendish looking good indeed, very good.
The very next day saw the Giro's first sprint finish, Cav taking on the Italian sprint legend Alessandro Alejet Petacchi on his home turf. And for the Manxman, things didn't go according to plan.
Where is Mark Cavendish? Has he been distanced a little bit? I think he's going to have his work cut out. There's still some room to do that. Borut Bosic sitting in. At the moment, Garmin Cervelo playing this one absolutely perfectly at the moment. Hondo coming around the outside for Lampre in the pink and blue with Alessandro Patacchi just behind him. There's still time to go. Fischer looks over his shoulder to see where everybody is. There's a lot of switching going on here, one side to another. Now opening up. Hondo looks around him to see where everybody is, moves across to the front. Radio Shack coming through the middle. Oh, now HTC suddenly open up on the right-hand side. Patacchi gets in front of Mark Cavendish, who's having to go around the long way. Can Cavendish overhaul Patacchi? He's on the right-hand side. No, Ali Jet's going to get it. Alessandro Patacchi gets it. Mark Cavendish. And Cavendish is not happy about that at all.
If I was a commissaire, I wouldn't have disqualified Patacchi for what he did, you know. But the point I made is, if I'd have done half of what he did, I'd have been relegated, disqualified, fined, you know. The internet forums would have had a field day about that, like, you know.
Patacchi goes right the way around. Oh, that is a little irregular.
In my eyes, bring back old school sprinting, you know. It's about his tactics, otherwise you just do what they used to do in the World Championships. The last few hundred metres of every race, you put lanes like in a running race. You've got to stay in the lane. That's not cycling, really, you know.
Mark's version of how a sprint should be had to wait, because with only 3 classic sprint stages in this year's Giro, it wasn't for another 9 days that stage 10 brought another flat finish, this time at Teramo in Abruzzo.
It's going to come down to a very furious sprint in the end. Vacon Soleil doing the work to lead out here with Daniele Hondo in the perfect position once again for Alessandro Patacchi, a very good sprinter in his own right. Cavendish just behind. The rider from Radio Shack is Cardozo, who is sitting on the wheels to try and wait till he comes past. And now a kick comes from the front from Quickstep. They move over out of the way, and Ventoso's team of Movistar move up towards the front. Morelio Fischer also there for Garmin on the right-hand side of your screen, though. That's what we should be watching. It's Patacchi and Cavendish. Cavendish coming past Patacchi. It's almost neck and neck. Cavendish takes it. He goes past Alessandro Patacchi with pure speed. And I think Ventoso it was who got second spot.
A victory then, but one soured by claims from runner-up Francisco Ventoso that in the previous day stage, the grueling climb up Mount Etna, Cav had only stayed in the race by holding on to a team car. Mark shrugs off the accusation.
I've had accusations my whole career about doing stuff, you know, and it's just how it is. If someone's continually dominant, everyone will try and find, not everyone, but the people who obviously don't work as hard as me, don't have a team who believes in them like the guys believe in me, will find any excuse they can to try and bring me down. There came out pictures of guys holding on to cars, and the good thing for me, I know I can sit there safe in the knowledge there won't be a picture of me holding on to a car, because I never done it. And I think that's the best way to be in, you know. If you don't do something, no one's ever going to find out you did anything. So, yeah, say what you want.
The final sprint stage in this year's Giro was into Ravenna, a day that showcased what would become one of the stories of this season, the almost unbeatable strength of Cav's HTC team.
Oh, they were incredible that day. After that, no one would help us. No one, like it's normal actually this year, no one wants to help HTC. Which in my eyes, I've always said, like, don't not ride because you want to mess up HTC. If you want to try, what's the point in being at a race with a sprinter if you're not going to ride for a sprint? If you think, oh, we'll try and waste HTC's resources and come to the end, you're not going to win. Like I say, if you're not going to ride for a sprint, you don't believe in your sprinters, so don't bring your sprinter to the race. I'm lucky that the guys always believe that we'll finish it off, so they ride. And yeah, that day we had an incredible lead out. There's guys up the front. I remember fighting one, not fighting, but, you know, barging with Garzelli. He's a climber, GC rider. And that shows how cycling's changed when I'm rubbing elbows with him, 2K from the finish.
We go, oh, I wondered if it was going to happen. Now, whose that has gone down?
Seeing that Ferrari come underneath just before that left-hand corner, knew he was going too fast, so we backed off because I knew he'd wipe out in the barriers. So we backed off. He went through our line and smashing the barriers. We went under it. And then there was like 8 of us left.
Cavendish is still in this group, as is Alessandro Patacchi, and Apollonio just behind Patacchi. He's in a great position. Oh, another difficult bend to get around. Robbie Hunter, I think, is the rider from Radio Shack. Difficult to tell. We've not seen anybody yet so far, except for the front 3 or 4. Cavendish is in the perfect position. He's still got 2 men with him.
It was a headwind finish. I knew Patacchi was on me. I didn't know about Apollonio, but I knew Patacchi was on my wheel. And with a headwind, you know, if you go too early, then you're going to die. They're going to come around the last minute. But if you leave it too late, Patacchi, like he showed in the first stage, he'll get the jump and out-manoeuvre you. So what I did, I came off Renshaw. I did incredibly. That back did a massive pull. Rasmussen did a massive pull, and Renshaw, as usual, Mr. Consistency, just incredible to the last couple of 100 metres. And then I came off his wheel, but I didn't want to jump and die and have them come round. So I came up, I went about 70%. And when you're going 70%, if you're behind someone going 70%, you have to come round, otherwise the people from behind are going to come round you. So I go 70%, Patacchi and whoever's going to come back round me, try and come round me, which will get them, their faces in the wind earlier with a headwind. So I went 70% and they come out. When they came alongside me, then I accelerate again. And they're in the wind and they can't use me for shelter. That's what I did.
Apollonio starts to wind up, as does Gerald Ciolek. Cavendish hits the front. Apollonio gets on his wheel. Patacchi is beaten. Apollonio's going to come around the outside. Cavendish is going to hold on, is he? Only just.
I think Harman said, "Oh, it's close," you know. But it wasn't. It was off a bike. And has it come to the point now that if I only win by off a bike, it's like, "Oh, it's close," you know. I still won, like.
Well, that proved Cav's last win of the Giro, with the Manxman then withdrawing from the race to better prepare for this summer's big event, the Tour de France, and with it, another crack at the holy grail of sprinting, that elusive green jersey. Join us after the break to see how he got on. Welcome back. The Tour de France is the world's greatest bike race and an event that in sprinting terms has been dominated of late by one young man, Mark Cavendish. But despite 15 Tour stage wins in just 3 years prior to this season, Cav has never taken the green jersey, the unofficial sprinter's crown. This year he looked better placed than ever to take it, given the favourable route chosen by the race organisers.
I liked it more than last year because I don't like the Pyrenees. I like the Alps, they're all right. Pyrenees got like heavy roads and that. You need to have a finesse about your pedaling for the Pyrenees. I really got that.
Mark's lack of success with the green jersey had meanwhile prompted the Tour organisers to rethink their scoring system. The 2011 edition of the Tour scrapped the old policy of small intermediate bonus sprints throughout the day and instead created one mid-stage sprint with a significant points prize. Given Mark's past disinterest in racing for anything but the finish line, it was unclear whether this new approach would be a help or a hindrance.
With something new, you don't know if it'll work. You don't know if it'll help out. And in hindsight, yeah, it did, but we really had to work for it. You know, I always made a thing about, I was going for the green jersey, but I'd always get that from winning stages. And the new rules meant that I had to sprint for the intermediates every day. And not just me, the whole team. Like, there was guys pulling. Renshaw had to lead out every day. Bernie had to make sure we were there to lead out every day. And the guys had to ride to make sure there wasn't a group up the road. Like, normally if there's a group got bigger than 5 or 6 go up the road, we start stressing, we want to pull it back. By the end of the Tour, I was secretly happy when a group of 15 went up the road, because it mean I didn't have to do that intermediate sprint 2K before a catwalk climb or something, you know.
The start of the Tour was anything but promising for Mark and HTC. After getting docked points in one of the first of the new mid-stage sprints for this illegal contact with Tour Hushovd, he then lost out at the finish that same day to American sprinter Tyler Farrar.
Under the 1 kilometre to go, Banner.
And Renshaw on the front very early.
Very, very early. Well, Cavendish is having to come around the outside, is he not, to get back into the line? I think we lost Mark Cavendish for just a second. Off the front goes Geraint Thomas. It's Geraint Thomas having a go, getting into the last corner. The best young rider is going to try and out-sprint everybody. Oh, it's a crash. Is this yeah, I think there's somebody down in the corner, or they've run very wide. Thomas looks over his shoulder. He was trying to work for Swift or Bosenhagen. It's not going to happen, and Hushoff gets through in exactly the right place. Julian Dean and Tyler Farrer in there as well. Well, the brilliant tactical nous of Thor Hushoff has got him safely through. Farrer, is he going to be Farrer on the 4th of July as Rojas goes for it as well? Tyler Farrer goes in the middle, Rojas on the right-hand side, and Bozic on the left. Oh! Farrer, I think, just about gets it.
The clouds, though, had a silver lining. For while HTC's lead-out had for once been far from impeccable, Cav himself showed there was nothing wrong with his legs, roaring back up the field to finish 5th at Redon. 2 days later, Stage 5 took the Tour to Cap Frail in Brittany. On paper, it looked a straightforward enough day. But what had already been one of the toughest and most uncertain Tour starts in years was beginning to take its toll on the peloton.
Everyone was already mentally drained by Stage 5 because we'd only been on small roads for the first 5 days. And I remember on the book it didn't show that much of a rise at the finish, and then Eric Zabel had been in Recce the last few K and relayed it back, and he's like, listen, it's hard. Like up to 3K it goes like 10%, nearly 10%. I was watching it with Peter on the couch and I was so vocal about it. Like we're going up Vauclair attacks on that little climb with 3 guys going to be, this is a climb, man. Like you can't really see it, but this was a climb. Like you see Gossi all over the bike and me behind him like chewing my front tyre. Vauclair going, it was uphill, man, and the peloton was fragmenting then, and I got over, and then it plateaued a bit before kicking off to the end. And from 3K, I was just so deep in the red. Like, it's one of the only stages I can't really remember what was going on. I remember exactly every move I make, but I don't remember the riders around me.
Tony Martin now gets on the front with Matthew Goss just behind him. Goss is the man in the trend. He's looking back for Cavendish, but Goss is the man maybe for today. It looks to be that way. Cavendish is not there, so Goss has eased up. Surely Tony Martin is not allowed to go by himself. And Bosenhagen is closing down the gap. He's going for it by himself. Edvald Bosenhagen. And on the wheel is Romain Feuillet. You can see the bike is being thrown from side to side as Bosenhagen drives for the line. Feuillet is in his wheel. Thor Hushoff, the yellow jersey's coming up on them quickly. Hushoff, will he close down his fellow Norwegian? Bosenhagen has got a little bit too early, I think, as Feuillet has got nowhere to go.
Like I seen a white rider come past me, white jersey rider come past me with like a few hundred metres to go. I thought it was Brad I jumped on Geraint Thomas. But that's how disorientated I was, how deep I'd gone. I thought I was jumping on Brad, I jumped on Geraint. We came round, it's still going up, and came to 200 to go, and I was about 10 back. I saw Gilbert on. I didn't think I was going to win, I was just trying to go for points then. And I jumped, and I just got alongside them, and I just kept going. But it's not often I have to go that deep to win a sprint, but that wasn't a normal sprint, you know. But it was one of the proudest moments of my career, actually.
It's Cavendish who came through. And on a really hard day, the super sprinter himself, Mark Cavendish, comes out from the coattails of everybody else.
Familiar sight then, Cav back up on the podium for what was in all his 16th Tour stage win. And 2 days later, Stage 7 brought a treat, a return to Châteauroux, the very town where in 2008 Cav had claimed his first ever Tour triumph. 3 years on, the race organisers had chosen to install one of their new intermediate sprints just 26 kilometres from the finish. With 2 sprints so close together, the usual race tactics would go out the window.
The organisers did that on purpose, you know, so we'd have to sprint just before the finish, which it's really good for spectators, but it's tiring, man, you know.
There are 11 points down to 1 available at the moment. Eisel looks over his shoulder to see where Mark Cavendish is. Gives over to Tony Martin. Here comes Cavendish. on the outside of the screen. He's waiting to go. He's waiting to be let go. There. Out comes Cavendish, takes the 11 points.
I was incredibly lucky because the guys who'd led me out still kept pressing on when I was sprinting. And as soon as I crossed the finish line, I was the only rider there, the sprinter there, who had their team swarm around them. Just help me recover, because we knew that then that's when they were going to attack. And yeah, we made the front group then. There was a big crash behind. Unfortunately, Bradley broke his collarbone in that, you know, and that was a big, big shame, actually. I really think he could have done big things in this year's Tour de France, and that was quite a blow for British cycling and for Sky to see that happen.
Pataki behind the wheel of Mark Cavendish as Bernard Eisel drives the HTC High Road train on.
If you're going to show a textbook lead out to any cyclist of any age growing up, show the intricacies of what a team does to set up a sprint, I think that was a perfect example of it. Just as one line, everybody full gas till the end. Just peel off, and yeah, it was textbook.
Tony Martin still doing a big pull on the front here. He'll pull off very shortly. Swift exit to the right-hand side. And HTC continue to pile on the pressure. It's Goss. Goss will hand over to Renshaw. It's a bit scrappy behind. It's still not a full tilt as Fillier on your right-hand side of your screen fights for the wheel of Alessandro Pataki and Greipel. Now Renshaw opens up the taps with Mark Cavendish just behind him. Pataki is on the wheel. Julian Dean is the sprinter from and Greipel comes around the outside on the left. Greipel's giving it everything, and Fillier gets in his wheel. Greipel's doing a massive lead out for Brice Fillier, for Romain Fillier. Fillier and Cavendish. Cavendish takes it. Greipel, I think, second. Pataki third.
So Cav claiming his second win in Châteauroux, and one that, looking back, held special significance for him.
I'll tell you something that I haven't said, actually. 3 years ago, I bashed shoulders with Renshaw. He's ran for Tour Hushop, and he gave Tour Hushop a perfect lead out in Châteauroux in 2008, and I was on a different team with him, and it was just so fitting that he gave me a perfect lead out there at the end for my second win there, you know.
By now, Mark Cavendish was really hitting stride, and on the next flattish day, stage 11, hang on, what about stage 10 to Carmo? Wasn't that a sprint finish too?
Don't show this though, okay? But Greipel beat me, didn't he?
And the green jersey is still hiding in there. Behind Andre Greipel is teeing himself up. Thor Hushoft is in here. Romain Fillier is in here as well. And Jose Joaquim Rojas round the last two corners. We're almost upon us. Cavendish has kept himself out of trouble. Greipel still winds up. Cavendish is coming off the wheel now. Around the outside he goes of the liquid gas rider. Greipel is in his wheel. It's a showdown between Cavendish and Greipel.
Technically, he did one of the most perfect sprints I've ever seen, and I didn't do a very good sprint. But he was really, really good that day. He laid off, he got the run up, I'd gone early and he kicked round me. It was impressive. But then the next day I was like, I've got to win.
Stage 11 then. On the last flat finish before the arduous climbs of the Pyrenees, could Mark see normal service resumed?
That was a miserable day. Break had gone, and then we controlled it with just our two guys again. Danny Pate, Lars Bach, I think you saw more of their faces in this year's Tour de France than you did of Cadel Evans, you know, and it started so bad weather towards the end. And we went through these trees and it went dark. I took my glasses off. I couldn't see because of the spray, and I'm so low down, and there's guys that just got water, and I put them back on then, and couldn't see a thing, and I thought to myself, like, if someone turns right now, I'm down. I can't see a thing.
Look at the work that's been put in the front by Eisel. He just says, I've had it, I'm cooked, I cannot do any more. Tony Martin takes over with 2 kilometres to go. Renshaw is behind, then Cavendish, then Ventoso.
Garmin tried coming up, then you had Fillier bashing around, and Tyler as well. I'll tell you what it's like, you seen the cartoon Tasmanian Devil, Taz the Tasmanian, when he goes in that hurricane. That's what it's like in the peloton with Tyler and Fillier, man. It's like having two of them bombing around. Like, And I just followed Mark. And then Sky came, Swifty, Geraint and Edvald. Mark boxed Edvald off. Geraint went, and then Mark jumps.
Sky take up the pacemaking on the front. Thomas seems to have lost Bosenhagen. Bosenhagen is tucked in behind Andre Greipel now. Bosenhagen moves around the outside to try and get a better position on Mark Cavendish's wheel, as does Alessandro Patacchi. It's Thomas for Sky. On the front, it's Julian Dean for Garmin Cervelo. Ziberg looks over his shoulder to see where Greipel, the winner of yesterday, is. Thomas takes it up on the left-hand side of your screen. Just behind him is Mark Renshaw, followed by Mark Cavendish. Well, Romain Fayeur has managed to get himself in a good position, as always, without a trade. Hushoft, a little bit pushed over to the right-hand side of your screen, as Renshaw opens up the big guns in the middle.
Kick right, and I was like, there's no way he's beating me again.
It's Renshaw leading out. Cavendish who goes now with Galimzian off at his wheel. Cavendish goes. Farah gets on the wheel. On the right-hand side of your screen, it's Greipel. Greipel goes on the wheel of Cavendish. Has Cavendish gone too early? Can Greipel get out? I don't think so this time. It's Mark Cavendish who takes the win.
It's nice to win in the rain, you know. It's like, it makes you feel like them races you watched, you know, when you're young. Like, it's quite hardcore.
Mark then taking his third stage win of this tour, but more importantly, also moving into the lead in the race for the green jersey.
They made me stay behind at the presentation, and they didn't know that I'd got it at that point, and then, yeah, it just felt nice, man, you know. Felt really, really nice.
So, Mark Cavendish back in green with matching accessories. But with two tough mountain ranges on the way, could he hold it all the way to Paris? Welcome back. Mark Cavendish's quest to take the sprinter's green jersey in the 2011 Tour de France had begun well, with Mark leading the points competition after 11 stages. Ahead, though, lay the Pyrenees, probably his least favourite conditions. And on top of that, a virus meant his new jersey wasn't the only reason he was looking green.
I was so poorly in the Pyrenees. Like, we'd gone through the Massif Central a few days before, and I'd got this stomach bug. The thing is, I can't say stuff like that now. So if I say it, people will take advantage. And it is hard when you're getting all the stick in the press, because you're suffering, you know. Oh, we just suffered through there. But I had Bernie Eisel, I had Lars Bach, and Danny Page just with me, you know.
Cav made it through with his teammates' help, and once over the other side, he promptly paid them back. Stage 15, flat, but anything but simple, as the Tour raced across the south of France towards Montpellier.
It was crosswinds all day, and we just stayed there. The other teams were coming. It was a nervous day, but we stayed in a long line of 9 guys the whole day. It was a couple of 100 kilometre a day, 220 kilometre a day, and it shows how much the guys have progressed. Like Tony, for instance. Tony just goes full gas. Incredible guy. And you see how much he's learned, how much he's experienced. See, in the last couple of kilometres, 3 kilometres to go, Gilbert attacks it. And normally Tony would have gone after it, you know. It's your initial reaction is to go with something. Tony let him go, let him hang, and then brings it back slowly. And that was a nice moment. That was the proudest moment of the day for me, actually, because it just showed Tony's learning, he's thinking about this stuff, and that was incredible.
G moving up to the front, big power, leading Bosenhagen and possibly Swift there.
Sky came along with fighting, bam, bam, bam. Gossi held it strong, then Renshaw went, and then I went.
Almost shoulder to shoulder between Renshaw now and Bosenhagen, who's leaning a little bit on him. Around the inside then comes Omega Pharma Lotto, Jürgen Rollens doing the work. Andre Greipel not to be seen at the moment. Renshaw still has to release Mark Cavendish. Bosenhagen going for the line on the left-hand side. Goss swings over. Bosenhagen stops working. Swift is in the wheel of Mark Cavendish. Julian Dean and Tyler Farah next in line, and Alessandro Patacchi. Mark Renshaw still driving on. Is there Daniel Oss still in there as well? Mark Cavendish goes for the line with Oss behind him. Farah comes out of the wheel of Oss. Farah on the right-hand side of your screen. Cavendish takes it.
Once again, Cav's win, though, was dogged by controversy. Rival sprinter Tyler Farrar now suggesting that on the preceding day's climb to Plateau de Bay, Mark had used help from a team car to stay in the race.
Cav made a really remarkable comeback after being dropped by the Gruppetto for about 70k yesterday. So it's a little frustrating to have him beat me so closely today.
Tyler's like, oh, it's incredible the recovery Cavendish made to win this, you know, implying, again, I'd hold on the car. No, I'll tell you what, when you were pulling full gas on the Gruppetto, I was sat on my teammates. So you're wasting your energy while I'm not recovering, but you know what I mean? I said, that's where that extra things come from. I've got guys who are just going to ride out the skin to progress themselves and the team instead of riding to up another team, you know? And that's how we always ride. We ride to win. We ride to do what we can do best instead of riding to beat the others.
As the Tour reached the Alps, there were to be yet more problems in the mountains. Stage 18 to the summit finish on the Galibier saw Cavendish finishing outside the time limit for that day's racing. So big was the group of riders involved that, as is customary, the organisers allowed them all to stay in the race. But each man was docked 20 points. And with Cav's main rival for the green jersey, the Spaniard Jose Rojas, finishing inside the time limit that day, the Manxman's lead was now down to a slender 15 points.
I think the time limit was silly, you know. Like, cycling's changed. Cycling's not going as fast as it used to in the mountains, you know. And to have a day with 3 big climbs, there's no way you can do that faster than 30 kilometers an hour, you know. And it says a story when over half the peloton were in my group, which is frustrating because half the peloton go for the green jersey, and so it makes no difference whether they're in or out. So they can actually go. It's down to us to bring that half the peloton home. Half the peloton aren't going to ride to make the time because it makes no difference to them anyway. So it's down to just my team again, like 6 of us, to ride full gas, you know, which I guess that's what you had to do with the green jersey, but that's what makes it so much nicer when we did get it.
Mark hung on to that lead through the final day in the Alps to arrive in Paris in pole position for the grand finale, the sprint finish on the Champs-Élysées. Cav had triumphed in this stage in both of the previous seasons, but this, racing in the jersey he'd coveted for so long, was something special.
Incredible. It was really, like, lining up on the start line on the final stage with the green jersey, but I was still nervous. I could still lose the green jersey in Paris, you know, we had to win. And I spoke to Rojas in the stage and he's like, yeah, you're going to beat me on. But I just have this thing for Paris. Like, in my eyes, it's the most iconic stretch of road in cycling. It's probably the most beautiful stretch of road in the whole of the world. So that's always had a special thing for me, and I just have this desire, this need to win there, you know. I'll tell you what, we were talking there. When I first turned pro, I was rooming with Andreas Clear and T-Mobile. He's a legend. He's a guy I grew up watching, you know. He won Gent-Wevelgem when I was watching, and he's always up there in Flanders, you know. And we were talking about sprinting, and I think it's well documented that, like, the trainers and that thought I was shit. And these guys were perking me up and saying, we think you're going to win races and that. And Clear said to me, he said, I'll tell you one thing I don't think you'll ever win. I said, what? And he said, the Champs-Élysées. I said, why is that? And he said, it's just a weird sprint. He said, the corner's only 300 metres to go. He said, it's on cobbles and it's uphill and your speed's deadened from 3 weeks of riding. It's really hard. Eric Zabel tried. Eric Zabel won the green so many times, never won on the Champs-Élysées. That's why it's so special for me, because it is such a complex thing to win there.
Down the Rue de Rivoli, we know that Mark Cavendish has the green jersey to play for, and a 3rd consecutive stage win as HTC's Bernard Eisel pushes on the front. Behind, Garmin Cervelo are trying to get themselves in the right position. It's a bit of a chaotic sprint in here as Thor Hushoff drives. He's looking over his shoulder to see where Tyler Farrar is. HTC have got this one really nicely under control at the moment. The final kilometre is underneath.
And Tony Martin takes it up.
Into this final corner, they'll swing left and then right. It's vitally important that they get this this one right. Absolutely necessary. I might go for Edvald Bosenhagen in this sprint, I think. Just to throw one out there on the left field. So, third back, it's Mark Cavendish in the green points leader's jersey. Where is Rojas? Rojas is not up towards the front here. Not contesting this one. He's not fast enough to be there. Peeling off now, Mark Renshaw takes over for Mark Cavendish with Edvald Bosenhagen in the wheel. And behind them is Daniel Oss, the tall Italian rider from Liquigas. So they strike for the line, Edvald Bosenhagen and Mark Cavendish. Cavendish has got this one. It's 3 for Cavendish. Cavendish takes the win. A third one in a row, and the green jersey is going to Great Britain.
It's just weird, like crossing the line, looking up when you see the Arc de Triomphe, you know? That's just weird. Like, it's the only thing. Normally, when you cross the line, all you see is photographers. Because it goes up to the Arc de Triomphe, you see that. And that just hits you. And then, obviously I had the green, I grabbed that, and then I stopped, and I just wanted to see the guys. Like a group of guys who just ridden for 3 weeks. Just relentlessly riding for 3 weeks. They had everything thrown at them. And they just kept riding just for this green jersey. Like, Renshaw was saying the whole lead up to the Tour this year, I'm not going home without the green. Not going home without the green. And Bernie was so stressed by the end that he was like, he was bickering. He's like an old one. He wanted to go home a few days before. He was like, we were arguing. It was after the stage up to Galibier. Bernie was arsey that night, and he was in the bath, and he was like, I'm not going to make it to Paris. First time I've ever heard Bernie negative like that. For the last few days, he was like, just got to get to Paris. He's like, I've got to, if it kills me, we've got to get this green jersey, you know. And that was the ethos of the whole team, you know. It was, we had to get it. After 3 years of trying, we had to get it, so. And everybody gave everything to get it. That was a special, special moment.
Triumph on the Champs-Élysées then, but Mark's sights were already on his next target, a multicoloured jersey to go with that green one. The World Championships in Denmark and a Copenhagen dash after this. Welcome back. The months leading up to the Road Cycling Championships were busy for race favourite Mark Cavendish. August saw him winning the Olympic test event, the London Surrey Classic, auguring well for next summer's games. September saw him put in brief appearances at the Vuelta de España and the Tour of Britain, but the focus now was on Denmark and the final big challenge of the season. Could Cav become the first Briton in almost half a century to win the world title? 3 years ago, Rod Ellingworth called us, and he's like, world's course has been announced in Copenhagen. It's going to be a sprint. 2008 I'd start at win stage of the Tour de France, and there's a possibility that came to sprint we could do it. We had the bike riders then, and the problem was that we were all riding for separate teams. Team Sky formed, that put a lot of the riders into one team, but there was still like me and Dave, obviously in different teams. And we had a meeting. He said, "Listen, you want to win the Worlds?" He got all the pro bike riders in Britain together. He sat us down, and he had something covered up. He unveiled this, and it was Tom Simpson's World's jersey, 65, and he was like, "We want to bring this back to Britain." He showed a video of Tommy winning the Worlds, and you know, everyone was in. It didn't need to talk more. That was it. Everyone was in. The enormous recent success of British cycling meant that Team GB could field 8 riders in Copenhagen, but in order to beat the best the world could offer, it would be crucial to select the right 8.
It wasn't just the 8 best guys on the day with the best form wins. We needed, like in football, we needed positions. We needed the 2 best guys who could ride all day, people to ride from middle distance to the finish, lead out guys and a sprinter. It's about picking guys on that, and you saw the 8 we came up with, you know. There was me, there was Brad Wiggins, David Miller, Chris Froome, Geraint Thomas, Ian Stannard, Steve Cummins and Jeremy Hunt. No radios, so David Miller was road captain. And there was 1 goal. 3 years ago there was 1 goal. There wasn't a plan B, there's a plan A. We ride, we control the race, we make it a sprint, Cavendish sprints. Great Britain win the World Championship.
That is a magnificent ride by Bradley Wiggins. He brings back Thomas Voeckler and the rest of them, but he's got to keep the pace up. He's still got to keep going. There's too many other nations just waiting, and now they're looking, see what they can do.
It was the proudest moment of my career, sat there. It wasn't at the finish crossing the line, it was sat there in the race with 7 guys ahead of me. Guys were attacking us. Normally your instinct's to go after those guys. We stayed together, regrouped, reformed, then rode it down, you know.
Australia are really drilling this one now, but as you feared, Sean, it could be the fact that Team GB have used everything in the tank to try and keep their man Mark Cavendish in a good position.
Yes, and we can see Stannard, is it there, that is keeping Mark Cavendish in the tail end of the train of the Australians. And
he's fighting with Moredo there, look. He's giving him a right push.
Well, a lot of people fighting for the end of that Australian train, because they can see 4 riders leading out here for the Australians.
Fabian Cancellara is in here too. At the moment, it's Australia who are setting the pace at the front. Coming into the very final stages of this magnificent road race here. Now there's nerves everywhere, people looking all over the place. Is anyone going to spring a surprise? Is Tyler Farrar being brought to the front? Slots in front of Borut Bozic, and Mark Cavendish is having difficulty finding the space to get through this one, Sean.
Yes, a lot of movement, of course, with the Australians setting the pace. We can see the Germans taking over here. The pace not really high, and a lot of riders coming over the top, and we can see a lot of riders getting boxed in for the moment.
2 kilometers to go, and Danilo Hondo of Germany is on the front. Daniele Bonatti is in second spot. He may not want to be there at the moment. Marcel Seberg is third. There's a lot of fighting going on in this peloton for people to be in the right place.
When I saw the final run into the finish, it's hard. It's an uphill, man, that from the last corner. And originally, from having a lead out of 2 guys, I then wanted to be 8-9 back for from the last corner. Geraint and Ian had planned that, but obviously I lost them at the finish.
Oh, Stannard's done a magnificent job. Look at the way he's forced his way through there on the barrier side here. And Cavendish is sitting a little bit far back at the moment, and it's going to get very tight on the barrier. Very, very tight indeed. This is super nervous. Geraint Thomas looks over his shoulder to see where Cavendish is, and he's sitting behind the Australians at the moment into the final corner. Is he too far back? He almost collides with the Italian. He's going to come a long way around at the moment.
I hit my wheel on the curb twice, bam, bam. It's dangerous to go through, but I had to get through. Got a little gap open, I went through. Pushed Gossi off his lead-out man, but I knew I wanted, if I wasn't on Geraint, I wanted to be on Gossi. Gossi is the only other guy I think who could have won there that day, and I wanted to be behind him. So I was ahead of him, which was perfect, but you see on the last corner, I ease up, I look behind, I let him come through again, and I slot on his wheel. Peloton strings out, I'm in 9th, 10th position, exactly perfect. Gossi's wheel, 10th position, exactly what I wanted to be.
It's Matt Hayman at the moment of Australia, setting this up. Heinrich Hausler on the outside. Cavendish is about 10 back.
The peloton starts bunching. Now, I'd looked all the laps before the wind was coming from the back right on that finish straight, which means the peloton is going to go left. Peloton's bunching up, I stay right. You look at the overhead, yeah, I get boxed in, but it was obvious to me the peloton's going to open up as the guys swing left. You know, the wind's coming from the right. And yes, it did. It even opened up earlier than I would have liked. I thought with that uphill finish, I wanted to go about 150 to go. 200 to go, it opens up, and I went.
Heinrich Hausler drives! He's going for the line now. Look on the left-hand side of your screen, that's where it's at. Cavendish has made his way through. Oh, he's done it! Cavendish has done it! He's going to be the world champion! Oh, it's yes! Mark Cavendish is the world champion.
Not since my first ever win of the Tour de France in Châteauroux that I've been in disbelief, or like it's hit me actually what I have won. That first time Tour de France, I was like, oh my God, I've won a stage of the Tour de France. Since then, it's just been, I've won. The first thing that came to mind was what I'd won. Oh my God, I've won the World Championship. I was just screaming. And Geraint came in, I hugged Geraint, and I went to the ceremony. I came back, David come in. All I wanted to do was get back at the bus. I think for me, it wasn't just the best ever performance by a British cycling team in the World Championships. It's the best ever performance by any team ever in the World Championships, in my opinion, you know. And I couldn't have wished to have celebrated it with any other people, you know. We didn't just win the World Championships, but we started and we controlled for 270 kilometres all the best bike riders on the planet and dictated how they rode the World Championships. And we delivered and we won. And it was incredible seeing that, and it was beautiful to be part of that.
For Mark Cavendish, no stranger to podiums, a very special moment. Now, with two of cycling's greatest jerseys finally claimed, what does the next year hold for the Manx Missile?
I'm a baby in April, so for me that's the biggest thing of the year. But there's going to be the pressure of carrying the most coveted jersey in cycling, the rainbow jersey. It's going to be great though, starting with a new team. A lot of them are my old teammates, a lot of them are guys I grew up with when I was younger, and the management's one I know very, very well. And so I'm relishing that opportunity, and I know it's going to be the best setup to achieve what I want to achieve next year. Obviously I want to do well at the Tour de France again, but obviously it's going to be a big July because 6 days after Paris is the Olympic road race here in London, and we can go in hopefully as one of the favourites there, and that's an important thing. So it's going to be geared about going well the whole of July, about peaking for a whole month. That's going to take a very regimented beginning of the year, but I'm relishing the opportunity, and hopefully it's going to be a successful one.
Cavendish powering for him. I don't think they're going to catch him. Cavendish is going to take it. Oh, he needed that. Mark Cavendish takes another win. Terrific win by Mark Cavendish. Look at Mark Cavendish. And it was all so easy.
Eurosport.